Action News Jax Surviving the Storm is brought to you by Cycles of Jacksonville. Harvey.
I didn't expect any of this to happen at all. We just need help.
Irma. Thank God we're alive. My grandkids were in there.
And Maria.
I cannot cry over the same. The hurricane came, hurricane left, I'm here, I'm alive.
Perhaps the most destructive hurricane season in U.S. history.
There's nothing I could do. It's totally helpless. I've never felt so helpless in my life.
Families uncertain of the future, but thankful they survived.
We all need to come together during these horrible times. Harvey, Irma, the next one that happens.
Now, a new season approaches. Are you prepared for the worst? This is an Action News Jax First Alert weather presentation, Surviving the Storm.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Buresh here with the First Alert weather team on the rebuilt Jacksonville Beach Pier.
It's a lasting example of the power storm surge can have on our coastline.
The pier was closed for nearly 2 years after Hurricane Matthew tore off a huge section and damaged the rest.
In the next half hour, we're preparing you for the next storm, creating your hurricane plan, giving you the information you need to keep your family and property safe.
The 2017 Atlantic hurricane season was the most destructive to hit the U.S. and Florida in more than a decade. Its impacts will be felt for years to come.
The 2017 season kicked off extra early, spawning Tropical Storm Arlene in mid-April. A pair of tropical storms would hit the United States over the next 3 months. But it wouldn't be until late August when a true monster came calling. That's when Hurricane Harvey slammed into Texas, dumping unprecedented amounts of rainfall to Houston and the Gulf Coast. When all was said and done, over 100 lives were claimed. It was one of the costliest in history, close to $200 billion. As Harvey wreaked havoc, the Atlantic Ocean spawned Irma. At 180 miles per hour, it would become the strongest storm ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin. After slicing a path through the Caribbean, Irma cut through the Keys and then right through Florida. In our area, the flooding was intense along the St. Johns River. Strong winds knocked out power to tens of thousands and dropped trees, which split homes in half. In St. Johns County, it knocked a home onto the beach and spawned a tornado which mangled a condo complex. Less than 2 weeks later, Hurricane Maria roared through the Caribbean, wiping islands off the map. It struck Puerto Rico as a Category 4 storm. The damage it caused devastated the power grid and created a mass migration to Florida and the continental United States.
Irma had the biggest impact on our area by far.
The path it took through Florida caused intense flooding along the St. Johns River. Action News Jax Russell Colburn helped rescue a stranded woman during the storm. Now, months later, he went back to find her life in full bloom.
Still, serene, colorful. Today, Betty Dickert's garden at her Riverside bed and breakfast is in full bloom, 8 months after Hurricane Irma left it underwater.
That was the worst thing, was sitting here seeing it destroyed.
They're going in and helping the first responders, grabbing people from their homes.
During the storm, Action News Jax joined a group of citizen rescuers on a fortified military truck.
Okay, here we go. We're backing up right onto her yard.
We found Betty alone at her bed and breakfast with water ready to rush in.
She's got a bag, and she's coming with us. See if we can... I'm going to step away so we can help her up real quick, okay?
She thought she could wait it out, and little did she know it was going to be a bad morning.
David Gillum and his family got Betty and several others to safety as Riverside became a raging river.
It was supposed to be a fun go play in the water day, go see what happened. Who knew we were going to rescue people?
We've been live here in the First Alert Storm Tracker all across our area for some of our worst storms. But with the water level here in Riverside, frankly, we wouldn't have made it. We're only comfortable driving through floodwaters that come up to this step or so. In this case, the water was easily halfway up our window. Betty says she has received calls from as far as China and Germany, former guests who watched our coverage online. Amazingly, she hadn't seen this footage.
Merciful heaven. Look at my garden.
Until we showed her.
Oh, mercy. That's what old people look like in a hurricane.
Despite all this, Betty says if there's a next time, she still won't evacuate.
It was dangerous. It was extremely stressful. It was costly financially. But I did. I watched people come together. I watched everybody working and trying to get things back together, and everything comes back.
Betty's plot is more than a garden. It's an example of our community's resilience. Storms knock us down, but we come back stronger than ever.
Many of those rescues didn't need to happen at all.
Some people decided to ride out the storm instead of following evacuation orders. As Action News Jack's Tanika Hughes shows us, knowing when to leave means knowing your zone.
During Hurricane Irma, most of the calls to our newsroom involved people wanting to know which evacuation zone they were in if they needed to get out of town.
If you have the ability and you're in those areas, I'm asking you to please leave now.
That was the message from Lenny Curry less than 24 hours from when Hurricane Irma hit. That message was well received, sending thousands of people north.
Why sit and take the chance that something terrible is going to be happening? We can't do nothing about it.
People who left early were rewarded with less traffic. David Ramirez and his family were not among them.
It was supposed to be like a 5-hour trip. It turned into like a 10-hour trip.
There were other problems facing late evacuees.
Gas stations are jam-packed. Some gas stations don't have gas. Traffic is horrendous.
Knowing when to evacuate means knowing your zone. Zones are based on a lettering system, A through F. Zone A is first to evacuate. Each subsequent letter corresponds to the category strength of the storm. You can learn which zone you live in by visiting actionnewsjax.com.
Irma spawned several tornadoes as it moved through Florida.
One came ashore in St. Johns County and ravaged a condo complex.
One of the 6 confirmed local tornadoes Irma produced touched down in Crescent Beach. The First Alert weather team was on the air, giving out life-saving warnings.
A tornado watch in effect, too, means conditions are favorable for tornadoes for the entire area.
Despite the intense damage to the Summer House condo complex, Chris Morgan has a positive attitude.
I got to tell you that the first emotion is, wow, are we so blessed that we weren't here.
In the middle of the night, we were tracking on First Alert Doppler HD a strong thunderstorm moving in off the Atlantic at nearly 60 miles per hour, which eventually produced an EF2 tornado, destroying multiple condos.
When we got here the first time to take a look at it right after the damage, obviously our unit was really impacted. There was no roof. Our master bedroom was wide open.
Tropical tornadoes can form at a moment's notice, usually in the right front quadrant of a tropical storm or hurricane. The damage left behind requires months of rebuilding, often requiring that repairs meet strengthened hurricane building codes.
So now, with the tie downs and the extra support beams and the rods that are going in there, there is obviously going to be an advantage to what we were before.
An advantage that hopefully won't be needed anytime soon.
It does put things in perspective now because, as you can see, we're still months away from getting back in.
Those are also months where this condo complex remains vulnerable to the 2018 hurricane season.
If our area is threatened by a tropical cyclone this season, it will carry one of these names. Hurricane names are retired if they cause significant death and destruction. For instance, Harvey, Irma, and Maria will never be used again.
Coming up on Surviving the Storm, the St. Johns River transformed.
Trillions of gallons of water came into the watershed.
How Hurricane Irma's destruction could impact homes and businesses along the river when the next storm comes along. Plus,
water rushed into homes along Black Creek during Hurricane Irma. Houses were damaged and people were stranded. Why some homeowners say it has only gotten worse for them.
This special Action News presentation is brought to you by Cycles of Jacksonville.
You're watching CBS 47 Action News Jax, Surviving the Storm.
We're at the Jacksonville Beach Pier for a good reason. This section was reopened this past spring, but before that, the pier had been closed since October 7th, 2016.
And that was the day Hurricane Matthew paid our area a visit. It was a welcome sign in March when the Jax Beach Pier reopened to the public.
The simple fact that people are able to use the pier, they're able to hang out on it, they're able to fish. A lot of people haven't been missing that for the last 2 years.
Those 2 years spent rebuilding the damage caused by Hurricane Matthew. Action News Jax was there that day as wave after monstrous wave slammed the pier.
Guys, let me tell you, this is no dress rehearsal anymore. This is the real deal.
Reporter Kevin Clark was stationed in a nearby parking garage with a bird's eye view of the destructive forces.
That storm was so powerful, it took 350 feet of concrete and moved it into Ponte Vedra.
Even more was damaged. What once stretched 1,300 feet now only goes to 625. That shorter length isn't ideal for fishing, but many say that's not the most important thing.
Getting the people back out here, getting our community back together.
Irma not only badly damaged buildings along the St. Johns River, but changed its ecological footprint. I saw the storm's impact firsthand.
Hurricane Irma has just fundamentally changed the river. The saltwater, freshwater regime, is just really getting back to normal now months after the storm. There was so much water, trillions of gallons of water came into the watershed.
Lisa Renneman, St. John's riverkeeper, says the effects from Hurricane Irma were immense. It was the greatest flooding the river has seen since the mid-1880s.
You're also seeing differences in the banks and the tributaries, as well as the bottom of the river. There's things that have been flushed out that aren't the same. So it is a altered river today.
We're on the St. Johns River where there still are docks that have been destroyed by Irma. That's the Rudder Club. Water was up over the bulkhead, almost into the pool. Then you have the Buckman Bridge where water was right underneath the interstate. Record levels the day after Irma's closest approach to Jacksonville.
We did a flyover 3 days after the storm, and the docks were just gone. The docks were destroyed all the way from Jacksonville down to Palatka.
There's reconstruction along parts of the river now, but there are also areas essentially untouched since the upheaval caused by Irma.
This is a vibrant part of our downtown, and right now it's left unusable.
The north shoreline still shows visible scars from the powerful floodwaters.
There was a big gazebo there that basically was destroyed, and you can just see by the way the foundation was mangled, the strength of the rushing water coming in.
For many parts of our river, post-Irma is the new normal. Renneman says now is the time to focus on how we make Jacksonville more fortified, more resilient for when the next storm comes calling.
Everyone needs to be prepared for the unexpected.
Action News Jack's John Bachman shows you how you can get ready right now.
The Scouts' motto is be prepared. It's not overdramatic to say that having supplies during a disaster can be the difference between life and death. You'll need at least 1 gallon of water a person per day for at least 3 days. Prepare a 3-day supply of non-perishable food, a battery-powered or hand-crank weather radio, flashlight and extra batteries, first aid kit, and a whistle. Once you have your basic supplies, also consider prescription medications, infant formula and diapers, pet food and extra water for your pets, cash or traveler's checks, and important family documents like copies of your insurance policies, identification and bank account records. Keep those in a waterproof portable container. Don't wait until a storm is looming to have these supplies ready. Stores sell out quickly, and the time you're waiting in line could make a big difference during an evacuation. You can find these lists on actionnewsjax.com.
Still to come on surviving the storm. A local community nearly washed away by floodwaters.
Water came in like it's like a tsunami.
The tough lessons learned along the Black Creek and why the destruction isn't stopping many from living there. Plus, how to prepare your home for severe weather.
This special Action News presentation is brought to you by Cycles of Jacksonville.
You're watching CBS 47 Action News Jax, Surviving the Storm.
Along with our coastal communities, neighborhoods along our rivers and waterways were especially hard hit.
Many homes along Black Creek in Clay County saw floodwaters reach their roofs. Action News Jack's Danielle Levitable was there after the storm hit and went back months later as families rebuild their homes and lives.
Overturned boats abandoned along the banks of the Black Creek. Families living in campers next to ruined homes. This many months after Hurricane Irma.
As bad as that flood was, and it was terrible. I mean, it was nothing compared to the aftermath.
Shane Smith says it looked like a bomb had been dropped on his house, but can't imagine living anywhere else.
Moving after all this would even be, it's just something new to add to a list of
of jobs that don't seem like they ever finish.
The walls in his house is one of the projects he says he's been trying to work on for months.
I've been doing pretty much everything myself.
Along the creek, you could see homes still damaged, under construction, in the process of being lifted or completely gone, like this one, where there's now just nothing but land. Neighbor Sean Morgan can't help but worry about the new hurricane season on his doorstep.
It's in the back of my mind now, for sure. But like I say, there's really nothing you can do but, hope for the best.
Morgan and his family evacuated before floodwaters invaded their home.
It was pretty intense. I mean, it was scary. We didn't expect it to be near that deep.
And this is what it looked like when he came back.
It was a wreck. I mean, everything was destroyed. I mean, the kitchen cabinets were all falling apart. The walls were already falling apart.
Like Smith, Morgan says moving from this area never crossed his mind.
The day-to-day living on the creek, waking up every morning and seeing the water.
When a hurricane strikes, the First Alert Weather Team gets critical warnings out to you online and on the air on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
We're also proud to work alongside News 104.5 WOKV. Our radio partners were there for you before, during, and after the storm.
A potentially dangerous storm and a potentially tornadic event happening just over Fernandina Beach. CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Buresh back with us.
That was Rich Jones, News 104.5 WOKV News Director, helping get you through Irma. If your neighborhood was out of power, like many, you had the ability to still tune into our radio partner on a handheld radio to get life-saving updates. After the storm passed, Action News Jax and WOKV were there to help the community get back on its feet.
I am blown away.
Less than a week after Irma, supplies were loaded up on a truck bound for the Salvation Army. Everything from food to water to cleaning supplies, all going to Hurricane Irma victims.
It's a good thing to do, and you should always help people.
Often the destructive power of a hurricane can't be stopped. However, there are a few things you can do to give your home the best shot of making it through the storm.
Number 1 on your list, protect your windows and doors. You can install impact-resistant glass or shutters to stop high winds and flying debris. A sturdy piece of plywood can also save your windows. And please do not tape your windows. It won't work, and it makes them more dangerous to clean up after they break. Speaking of debris, clean up the area around your home before the storm hits. That means pruning trees and removing dead branches. And remove anything that can turn into a windborne projectile, like lawn furniture. And make a path for all that rain to escape. Every gallon of water weighs more than 8 pounds. Clean out your gutters so the water won't pool on your roof and attic.
Coming up on Surviving the Storm.
It cut through the roof like a hot knife through butter.
Tumbling trees and smashed homes.
Didn't hear a thing. Woke up, came out, looked around. House across the street was totaled.
How a local neighborhood is recovering after taking some of the worst damage from Hurricane Irma. Plus, protecting yourself from shady contractors. The steps you need to take to protect your money.
This special Action News presentation is brought to you by Cycles of Jacksonville.
You're watching CBS 47 Action News Jax, Surviving the Storm.
In addition to flooding, some of the most severe damage to local communities came when trees smashed into homes.
Action News Jax went to 1 Atlantic Beach Street where very few homes were spared.
Just horrible, horrible damage.
That's what reporter Ben Becker saw on Pine Street in Atlantic Beach just hours after Hurricane Irma swept through our area. More than 8 months later, this is what it looked like. The tree is gone, replaced with a few tarps, the gaping hole still letting in the rain.
Didn't hear a thing. Woke up, came out, looked around. House across the street was totaled.
Priscilla Rowland lives right across the street.
I was kind of stupid and stayed home and slept in my house while all these trees were hitting all the other homes.
Rowland's job that morning was a tough one, telling her neighbor about the damage.
Yeah, in a text. Text with a picture. I said, everybody's fine but you, Denise. Your house is split in half.
Denise hasn't been in her home since.
She dealt with insurance for quite some time, and now it's architects and builders trying to get going. And
as for Roland, she considers herself lucky. A tree took out her van, and she also lost a window. She did learn one lesson.
I'll probably leave next time.
If your home is damaged, you need to be careful hiring a contractor. A few smart choices can save you thousands.
Make sure you get at least 3 bids on any type of job. Even if you personally know the contractor, do your homework before you finalize your choice. Check the state licensing website beforehand. Never agree to a large down payment. Reputable contractors only require between 10 and 25% down payment. Plus, try to go with the contractor to the store and pay for the supplies on your own. Get a contract in writing, because if things go sour, at least you have proof of the contract. And lastly, never pay in cash. Use a credit card in case you need to challenge any billing. And now is the perfect time to take stock of your home and your belongings for insurance reasons. Take pictures of your possessions and your home. That will come in handy if you have to make a claim.
You can count on the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Team to help prepare and protect your family this hurricane season.
We have the tools to give you warnings days or even weeks ahead of landfall.
And we've got the knowledge and experience to give you the most accurate forecast every time.
From the entire First Alert Weather Team, we hope you stay safe this hurricane season.